Hi Vishal, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Yeah, Vishal, I'm also doing good. So let's start with something about GeekyAnts, where you work. So how is life at GeekyAnts?
It's pretty great. Actually, one thing that I can say great about about GeekyAnts is work-life balance, and the people here are really amazing to work with. Be it your junior, be it your managers, or even the CEO of GeekyAnts. And if you are someone who is really interested to work in community, you want to like do tech talks, write articles, write blogs, they will provide you the platform for everything, and they provide you like great learning opportunities. So it's great.
Okay, so
GeekyAnts is great.
can you go deeper into the work that GeekyAnts do, like apart from providing blogs and technical content? Any services they provide, or from how do you guys make money? Like what is the actual business model of GeekyAnts?
So GeekyAnts mainly is like works on both product and service sectors. So on product we have like native base, and currently we are building BlueStack. And on services we have like multiple clients, and so we work for them. That's how we make the money.
So you work as a software development engineer, right?
Yes. I work as a software development engineer. Initially I started as like a Flutter developer. Now I'm working for full stack.
So in which year did you graduate?
I graduated on 2021, but I joined as an intern on 2020 in September 2022. Sorry, 2020. I'm saying 2022.
So when did you start coding? Like was it in your syllabus, or you started learning coding by curiosity?
If I will say the first time I started coding was when I was in the 5th class. I created that HTML page in which the header goes from left to right and the color changes, but it was almost useless. But then mainly I started coding when I went into class 11th. There I started with C and C++ and SQL. Then I did my BTech from CSC. So mainly from 11th class.
So we can say that like the first technical thing you did was HTML and CSS.
Yes, exactly, HTML.
Okay, and what was your which was your first programming language? The actual programming language? It was C++ or
It was C++. Yeah. So it was in the syllabus only. So we started with C++.
Right. Okay. So other than Flutter, what are your expertise?
Other than Flutter, I have worked on Node, Express, and C++ obviously. And initially I started when I was in college. I did some Android development also, and yeah, started with Android development, then shifted to Flutter. Now doing Express and Node backend.
Okay, so you make front end in Flutter and you do the back end work in Node Express.
Yes.
Perfect. So I had this one doubt, or many other students also have this doubt. Like many software engineers struggle to balance their personal and professional life. So how do you manage it?
I guess it's good for me because we have great work-life balance. But one thing you can do is you can keep track of holidays. In this year, if you see we have holidays just before weekends or just after weekends, so you can plan your leaves like that and go on trips or something like that, right? So that's what I do. It works for me. Hope it works for all of you also.
Okay, so do you play any sport?
Usually I'm interested in cricket, but in Bangalore it's hard to find a ground for that. So I go with badminton or table tennis, because in companies they have TT tables, so it's easier to play there.
Right. So let's come to the Flutter topic. So for those who are new to Flutter, can you explain in a bit short sentences what is Flutter and how is it different from other frameworks available?
So Flutter is basically open source SDK. It is backed by Google, and you can use it to create applications for mobile, desktop, web, and other OS through the same code base. It's not exactly the same code base, but the logic that you need for that you are going to write for one device will work mostly for like all the devices also. So it's basically a hybrid mobile application hybrid application development SDK. And how it's different from other things, like if you compare with Android or native iOS, then that will work for only one specific device for iOS or for Android. Or if you are doing for desktop, then it will work for desktop. But for Flutter, if you write the code in one, then it will work for all of the other devices also. That's what great about Flutter is.
Okay. So why is Flutter gaining so much momentum nowadays? Like so many startups are adapting Flutter as their framework for building their product, and some of the MNCs are also using Flutter in small components. So why is it? So like BMW is using Flutter for making their application. SpaceX is using it. Then Dream11 is using. What is the reason behind it?
Mainly is because there are two things. First is Flutter is very easy to learn, so you don't need to like spend too much time to understand how it works. And plus the language it uses is Dart, which is like very similar to other programming languages. So if you have experience in some other programming language, then most probably you will be able to do it. And in Flutter, it's like few companies I have seen, they have their existing SDKs and they are trying to like move into Flutter, and it's like quite easy for you to like do the transition from Android to Flutter. You can just write your native part and combine it with Flutter, and that will run on Flutter also. So these are the few reasons, I guess, and its performance is also good compared to other hybrid SDKs that are in the market.
Okay. And if I come to the job part, like for which most of the students are interested, what is the job scenario in Flutter? Like what average package can a fresher or a person with 1 year of experience can expect if he is a Flutter developer?
Okay. That might be a bit company dependent, because like as some companies give really high package, some companies even with the same experience might give not that high package. So can't say anything, but if you will like upskill your skills, like you have great skills and you also know data structures and algorithms, then you might get a big high package. So package mostly depends on DSA, and then if you have Flutter skills, it would be a plus point.
Right. So like many of the students also ask me on Instagram that, hey, we are just doing Flutter, so is it enough? So the answer is no, it's not enough. You have to practice DSA and Algo also, right, with Flutter.
Exactly, because most of the product-based companies or these companies, first they test you on DSA, then they go to Flutter. So yes, you need to do a bit of DSA also.
Right. So what is the job scenario in abroad? Like are they hiring for Flutter developers?
If a few months back I saw a few job posts for like hiring abroad, but now I don't think so. Like there is much hiring, maybe because of the recession, but still in India there are few companies that are hiring. You only said like BMW is also using, and I guess Gojek or Cred is also hiring. And here at GeekyAnts there are also Flutter developers. So there is pretty much like plenty of opportunities, I guess. Still you can grab.
Okay. And like how much time does it require for a beginner to become an expert in Flutter? Like can you share the complete roadmap?
Okay, so to be an expert, like first you should start with the language that Flutter uses, that is Dart. So don't spend much time in learning that language. If you have experience with any other programming language, then it won't take much time. You can give like 2 to 3 weeks for Dart. Then move to Flutter and understand how the widgets work, how Flutter works, and like what are the various widgets are there, which one is better for like difference between the widgets, because there are the same widgets that perform the same things, but like there are some a little bit of difference between those. So try to learn that. Then you can move to state management or local storage, all these things, and try to create some apps, integrate with Firebase, and do some API integration and storage. These things will help you.
Okay. And which was your first application that you built end to end?
For Flutter, I started with that was just when I started learning, so it was a news app, but it was like not that cool. Then I created a client app that was a e-commerce app. There I created an end-to-end app. So in that I did like everything: animations, API integration, local storage, notifications, everything. The we have in Flutter.
Okay, okay.
That was the first time.
So, like, if I just summarize what you said, first of all, the students have to be familiar with all the widgets that there are, like the common widgets. Then we can say that you have to pick one database. So mostly it is Firebase because they both are from Google, so it is easier to integrate Firebase with Flutter. Then we can say that you have to be familiar with API integrations, then state management, and then you can move on to a custom backend like Node Express, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So after learning Flutter, let's say I'm a beginner and I learned Flutter. Now, what do you think? How can I get an internship? Like, because students do learn the skills, but they find very harder to find internships.
Okay.
So first thing you could do is like search for companies who are working for who are like hiring hiring Flutter developers, or you can search for companies who are just hiring mobile developers. Sometimes what they look for is you have Android development skills and then you have Flutter development skills, or you have Flutter skills and you also know Android or iOS, one of the native thing. So once you are ready with Flutter, you have completed your basics, you have created 2-3 apps to show in the interview, and you have a good learning of DSA, then go to LinkedIn or maybe any online job search platform, or you can go to careers page of companies who have their mobile apps like Gojek, Cred or PhonePe. These companies you can go and see like if they are trying to shift to Flutter and they are looking for Flutter developers. There your chances increases because they're in their company they have Android and native iOS developers, but they don't have Flutter developers, so they start hiring, and at that time if you apply in the beginning only, then the chances of getting selected is much higher.
Exactly. Okay. So if I ask you like any 5 projects that a Flutter developer should make to become to reach at least to the intermediate stage of Flutter expert, you can say, or to get a good internship or to get a good job, any 5 Flutter projects.
To start with, you can start with a normal to-do app to learn the widgets and all, and then for API integration you can use News app and all that. Then I would suggest make some clones like WhatsApp clone to understand how chat things will work, how you can share files and like audio or video chat. You can learn streaming, how streaming works. You can create something like YouTube. Don't go into too deep, don't try to copy all the features, don't try to make the complete clone, just try to make the main features like streaming for YouTube or video playing for YouTube, so that you will learn different things and you will have multiple apps also. Then you can learn to integrate maps and all. You can create a Uber clone, any ride app, Uber or Ola clone. And if you really want to be an expert in Flutter, then you must know native. I'm not saying you learn Android from scratch or iOS from scratch, but you should know a little bit of it, how it works. And you can take any SDKs that is available on internet, like any chat SDK or Wi-Fi SDK or anything, and try to convert or integrate that SDK with your Flutter app. Try to learn how platform channels works, how you can write that, use that SDK and integrate it with your Flutter app. This will really make you stand out from the crowd. Most of the candidates who are applying for the job will know how widgets work, how to integrate API, and they will be able to create a YouTube clone from. If they will Google, they will be able to create it. But if you really want to stand out, then learn any one native also, like Android or iOS.
Okay, understood. That was like really really helpful. So, which backend works best with Flutter? Like we all know the answer that it is Firebase, because it is easily integratable with Flutter. But why is it so? Like why Firebase works so perfectly with Flutter?
So main thing is there are like lots of articles and YouTube videos, so you can like easily go through any of them and read it. Plus the documentations are very clear and well organized, so that's why it makes it much easier for you to go through it and integrate it. Plus both are backed by Google, so that also helps. Other than that, it's not really hard to integrate any other backend. Like if you want to integrate Node.js or anything else, then you are just creating your backend and create APIs for it, and that's simple. Just call the APIs.
Right. And if we come to the state management, why Block is so popular? Like there are so many other state management libraries, Riverpod, then GetX, then Provider, but Block is so popular. Like so many companies are using Block. What is the reason behind it?
Block actually provides you the modularity. It like really moves the business logic from the other Flutter app, from the Flutter app. So basically, the clarity it provides for you to you. If your app is really complex and big, then something like Block would really help. But if you see Block, it comes with a lot of boilerplate. So I know it's famous, I know everyone is using it, it's like really good. But if your app is not that big, it's like medium or small, then don't go with Block, use Provider or other state management, because you might end up writing more code for state management than your other things.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Right. Okay. What is the best way to learn any tech stack? Like not just Flutter. Like, do you think reading documentation helps the best, or watching tutorials, or practicing on your own? Like, how do you learn any tech stack? Like, you have learned Flutter, you have learned Android, you have learned Node Express. How do you actually learn a tech stack?
First thing is you can go through the documentations. That is the best way. But the thing is, the YouTube videos, the articles you see, they also use the documentation only, and then create those videos. But if you are finding it really hard to understand these documents and documentations and like the official articles, then you can go through YouTube videos and articles also, the other normal articles. Make sure you read documentations also, because the clarity and the information that is in the documentation is more precise and more elaborated than in the YouTube videos. But initially, obviously, if you are starting, then you can start with other articles also. That makes it much easier for you to understand. And then make sure you make apps. Just don't read articles and copy code from different articles or GitHub. Try to create app on your own. Start with smaller apps, then start with clones. That's how I guess it will be much easier for you to learn, and that will be the best approach, I guess.
Okay. And like any your favorite YouTubers teaching Flutter, or like any resources you want to share, like taking its reference, people can start learning Flutter.
Yeah. So first thing is you can follow Flutter official channel. You can follow them on Twitter also. They post the updates there. And then there are channels like Flutter Europe. But for Flutter Europe, you really need patience. Their videos are really long, a bit boring also. But the content they post is really good. Different Flutter developer comes there and they show what creative things they have made. Then you can go to some channel like Flutter Map. There he posts like about different widgets and how they work and what creative things you can do with those widgets. Also, you can follow GeekyAnts channel or GeekyAnts Twitter account. There also we have many Flutter developers doing podcasts or doing tech talks. So on Flutter and creating different apps. So you can learn from there also.
Perfect. Yes. So there is one doubt that people are asking, like, what is test-driven approach? Like, people are very scared of starting this topic. So why is it so? Like, what is this TDD?
I guess people are not scared; they are just lazy. Because what is test-driven approach is like you have to, if while creating the feature, you have to write the test case also along with that. So nobody likes to write test cases, you know. So I guess people don't want to do that. That's why nobody is talking about that. But I think it's a good approach if you are creating a really big app, because once the app like grows, then writing test cases at that time might be a bit tough. And then if something breaks, then you have to go back and like track back and do the changes. So test driven approach is something that people should follow, but again, writing test cases is not everyone likes.
Right, exactly. Like, you can skip writing test cases in your personal projects, but when you work in a company, you have to write the test cases, right? Okay. Is Dart preferred for backend?
There are like frameworks, experimental frameworks for Dart, like Serverpod, and there's Dart Frog. But if you are someone who is starting backend for the first time, don't start with Dart. It is an experimental like it is still they are building it. Start with something like Node or Spring Boot or something. And if you are already experienced in some backend, then you can start and then you can create some POCs around Dart, backend with Dart. Maybe you will create some package or something that will help others also. So it is, if you are doing it for your personal project, if you are creating POCs, then Dart, you can choose Dart as backend. Otherwise, no. Still in development.
Right. And what are your thoughts on Flutter web and game development using Flutter?
What I think is, if you are making an app that is for your mobile and you want it to run on Flutter web also, like if you want it to run on web also, then you can use Flutter web. If you are developing an app that is like mainly focused on web, it has nothing to do with other devices or mobile or anything, then Flutter web won't be the first option that I would choose, because its performance is a bit slower than what React.js or AngularJS offers. So if you have an app that has to run on multiple devices, or if you just want to create something like an admin dashboard or a low level app for your company, then go with Flutter web. Otherwise, if it's just a web specific app, then choose something else. And for game development, I guess it's going pretty good for game development. There are like multiple packages already, like Flame or Sprite Widget for game development, and already on Twitter, if you will follow, then you can see people creating creative games. So yeah, and I have recently I saw one news also, like PUBG is going to use Flutter. Yeah.
Flutter Forward, like they were discussing this in Flutter Forward. That happened in Kenya, I guess, recently.
Yes.
So, yeah, exactly. That was really amazing.
So that's a big thing if a company like PUBG is using. So that game is pretty famous.
Exactly. A critical question, maybe the last question related to Flutter for this podcast. Can Flutter die in the next 10 years?
Okay, doesn't look like, because with the pace it is growing right now, I don't think so it is going to die. And even if dies, then some other tech stack will come up. You can learn that. So I don't think so. Like we should really care about tech stacks. Will they be going to die in next 10 or 20 years? Because obviously, I guess there will be some other tech stack that could replace the existing ones. So just learn and switch tech stacks. That's what we engineers do.
Okay, nice. So which tech stacks are you planning to learn next in 2023?
Currently, I am just focused on the backend. So working on Express and Postgres. and just trying to do good in this and working on system design, learning more about system design. So just trying to improve my backend skills. Front end is pretty good, I guess.
So the last question is like with the launch of ChatGPT and all, do you think mobile developers or web developers should worry about their job getting lost?
It's like it's becoming a really hot topic these days, ChatGPT and AI versus software engineers. What I think is AIs are smart. Only the AIs in the Hollywood movies can take our job because they know how to like kill all the human beings in the Matrix, and then we might all become freedom fighters fighting the evil intelligence created by Christopher Nolan. But if you see the real AI, I guess they are here to just assist us. They are just helping us, and if you see, they have the answer that already exists. Whatever is seeded in them, something like ChatGPT. If you ask ChatGPT a question that is very like specific to your use case or something like that, ChatGPT might not be able to answer that. So I guess it's the like sometimes we also like we have the creativity. I guess 10 to 20% of the time we have the creativity. Rest 70% of the time we also copy from Stack Overflow. But that 10-20% time differentiates us with ChatGPT, something AI like ChatGPT or Adapt AI or whatever. So I don't think so they can take our job, at least not in near future.
Let's see what happens. We also don't know. Okay, thanks Vishal. Like it was really a resourceful session, very helpful session, and I hope that you also enjoyed it. And guys, like if you want to learn Flutter, then you can really check out the blogs and tutorials of GeekyAnts. The link will be in the description. And thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.